Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. It is 8:15 a.m. Pacific time. I do apologize if you hear any vroom vrooms. Those sounds will be like notifications or text messages from Facebook, text, of course, Instagram, you name it. Anything that has a notification. If you hear a vroom vroom sound, that's the reason. If you hear a big vroom sound, that's my bank declining something, which I don't think will be an issue right now, but a big boom will basically, indicate decline from my bank on something. But with that said, let's get on to the topic at hand. And I do apologize if I sound a little blah. I just woke up a little while ago and everything. Just got myself some coffee and everything. And I do have a bit of an allergy cough and all that, an itch, if you will. But with that said, let's talk about the topic, which has gotten a lot of people talking over the past several days, if you will. Most recently, Clownfish TV did a video on it as well. But let's talk about the situation when it comes to anime in Texas. So, yesterday, I was browsing around YouTube, and I noticed a couple of videos popping up about anime being in trouble, especially when it comes to the state of Texas. So one video that was recommended to me, I started up, I should say. And this guy talked about the whole situation. Now, he did indicate that there needs to be clarification on this. And I read online, courtesy of Google, I read online basically, pretty much, and Google did put a little bit of the AI's system into it. So I looked online as well just moments ago before recording this to get clarification, through various information the Google's AI would put out, other articles would put out, and so on. And along with what I watched yesterday. And a lot of people are saying that, those that are hearing about this ban of anime in the state of Texas, potentially the ban, are taking this way out of proportion. And from what I've read and from what other people have said, it sounds like they are. Now, you might say, well, they have justification for feeling that way, and you're right, they do have justification. But a lot of people have also pointed out, even Google's AI, if you will, pointed out, that even if Governor Abbott signs it into law, because the ban has already passed the Senate, the state Senate, and the state House. So if it gets to Governor Abbott and he signs it into law, first of all, if nothing happens, if nothing occurs, it would not take effect. Let me make this clear. From what I've read and others have pointed out, it would not take effect till September of this year. Now, what that means is that, a lot of places, anime and manga enthusiasts, anime and manga companies, distributors and so on, they would have plenty of time to take this ban, this law, if you will, to court. And a lot of people that have done some research, more thorough research than I ever could, have basically pointed out, also basing this on other previous laws that have come into reality, not just over the past couple of decades, but the past century or so, or centuries, I should say. Basically, they have pointed out that if this goes to the Supreme Court, which a lot of people are pointing to that it will, that the Supreme Court is not going to allow it to happen. Because basically what this is saying is that you cannot, this is what the anime ban is. This is what this anime quote-unquote ban is. It states that you cannot be allowed to own or have or read or be in possession. Basically, there cannot be any anime or manga allowed that depicts a minor in an obscene situation. That's right. Basically, they're saying that if you're going to have anime and manga around, that whoever the main character is cannot be drawn or seen as a minor individual. They cannot be seen as a young child and all that. And here's what's interesting, though. A lot of people already are pointing out that, one, this band, is not going to pretty much make it into reality. It won't make it to its September 1st institution, basically being, reality. It's not going to be allowed, whatsoever. It's not going to be allowed whatsoever. Secondly, it also, it basically, I guess you could say, violates some of the amendments. Basically, not just free speech, but being able to, be creative and all that. It basically would, violate a lot of laws that have been in law, if you will, for many decades, if not centuries. Third, the reason a lot of people feel that when the Supreme Court gets a hold of this, they're going to toss it out and be like, no, this ban ain't happening, is basically, and this is the third reason, a lot of people will point out and have strong evidence that if a minor character is shown, quote unquote, in a series, obscene or not, if a minor character is seen in an obscene situation in a series or not, if you will, but that character from the script and description, even though they look like they're a minor character, a child character, is depicted as 800 years old because the story calls for it, or 200 years old because the story calls for it, then that pretty much basically makes this band, if you will, invalidated. It makes no sense if the manga and the anime, itself depicts the character to look this way, but they're a lot older by numerous years, if not centuries. So there's a lot of, situations outside of those three as well that would make this mute. They would make this mute. And a lot of people also have said, in fact, the one guy I was watching the video on about this yesterday, he even said that he believes the real reason for this, and others probably feel the same way, is because the state of Texas, along with other states out there, like even here in California, in Kansas, New York, Florida, parts of Florida and everything, they have been wanting for years, if not decades, even when I was in school, they have been wanting for years and decades to get rid of anime, well, not just anime, but manga, if you will, from the school and public libraries. That's what they've been wanting to do. They've been wanting to get rid of the manga and, basically the manga, if you will, the renting of manga. And if they do still, especially public libraries, that is, still rent out DVDs or Blu-rays of anime, they want to remove that from the public library system, from the school system, the school's library system, and only have books and maybe movies, Blu-rays and DVDs there that are more appropriate. And look, we can understand that, hey, kids, young kids go in there with their families. At times they go into these public libraries, or young kids go into the school libraries if they're, allowed to. Well, they're allowed to, yes, but basically they go into the school libraries, for like doing a break or whatever, study, whatever. And, they're bound to see all kinds of books and stuff that they can, borrow, they can lend out. But what they don't want to see, among that, and this is why a lot of people feel this law is actually they're trying to get this law, I should say, made into reality, is the fact that among all those things, kids would see at public libraries or the school libraries is anime and manga, and they don't want that. They want that gone. And that's fine. That's understandable. Focus on the material, especially if you have a young kid that you want to read a book or educate with something or whatever, have material that's more suited for them. That's not an issue. That's not an issue. We all understand that. But again, the reason folks feel like this is going to go to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court is just going to toss it out and say, yeah, this don't make sense. You guys ain't making this a reality, is mainly because of the fact that, one, they would put the responsibility on the school and everything, as well as on the parent and on the public library itself. Because some feel that the Supreme Court will read this, they'll have an understanding, but they'll also be like, yeah, we kind of see what this is really about. We understand all this and we agree with everything you put in here, but we actually see what this is really about. And this is just about getting stuff out of the libraries, out of the public and school libraries. And, fine. If you want to do that, that's on you, but we're not going to let this pass. Because, again, that's how pretty much a lot of people look at it. They do. That's how a lot of people look at it. They do. But, again, the other thing, like I said earlier, that a lot of people feel is going to basically cause this law that's passed, like I said, both the state Senate and state House, if you will, in Texas, what's going to make it pretty much be obliterated, pretty much wiped from existence, by the Supreme Court. Because, again, a lot of people expect a lot of legal situations to come into play, major ones, if you will, is the fact that, when the strong evidence comes in, not just from fans, but from, the manga and anime distributors and publishers and creators themselves, that basically state that a character has to look this way because that's the design they were given. And, oh, by the way, the depiction has them at, because the story calls for it, at 200 years old, 500 years old, because they're an elf or they're a fairy, or they're a sorceress, if you will. Basically, a lot of people feel that once that gets presented, the Supreme Court will look at that and say, hey, this is, this evidence here is strong enough to pretty much toss this, ban out the window. And also, as mentioned earlier, it's in violation of a lot of other laws and amendments and rights that were put into law and everything, decades, if not centuries ago. And if you want evidence of that, just go to Cornell University, look that up on Google, and you'll see exactly what people are talking about. And let me get some coffee here for a second. But again, you would see exactly what people are talking about. You would. You would see exactly what they're talking about, going forward. And why basically a lot of folks are confident that even though this has passed both the state Senate and the state House in Texas, that even when it hits Governor Abbott's, desk for him to sign into law, which again would make it effective make it effectively law by September 1st, why it's not even going to make it that far, and why basically Governor Abbott's signature won't be worth the paper he's writing it on, when it comes to this law. But again, we all understand, we get it. We all understand and we get it, all right? We understand that, we're in a day and age based on a lot of things we have seen. Based on a lot of things we have seen over the past several years and decades, we get it. Okay? We get the fact that, there are people out there that have this kind of stuff that, should be, locked away. They should be not just put in jail. I mean, this one guy, has stated that the people like this, that have this kind of stuff, shouldn't be in jail. They should be put to the gallows. That's how he put it. But me, I kind of think along the same ways, but I wouldn't say put them to the gallows. No. I would say reserve a seat on some of those planes going to the prisons, the most secure prisons, outskirt prisons for the most dangerous criminals. I say reserve a seat, on those planes and send people like that to places like Guantanamo Bay, if you will. Send them to Guantanamo Bay, or if they do get it opened up in the future, which, President Trump wants to see happen, and they're trying to work on making it a reality, to get it operational again, send them to freaking Alcatraz. That's where they belong. Put them there. Put them in places like that and elsewhere, to where a lot of these illegal gang members and all that are being sent to. Send people like this that have this kind of stuff, send them there. Send them there. and because honestly, that's what people like that them belong. That's what they honestly belong. But the point I'm getting at, the point I am getting at here, ladies and gentlemen, is it's understandable, why they're doing this. But the reality in a lot of people's minds is this is just more of a long-winded extension of them saying, hey, we want anime and manga out of our school libraries and our public libraries. That's all it is. It's like saying basically, because I think they tried to do this at one time or several times, not just in Texas, but other states as well. They tried to ban, and I think maybe a few states were successful or something, but they tried to ban the renting of comic books. Yeah, they tried banning the renting of comic books, in libraries, or even the trade paperbacks or graphic novels. They would try to ban them. And I think one or two were successful for a short period, but then that got overruled. Because basically there is nothing wrong with, checking out a trade paperback or a graphic novel or anything based on a character like, let's say, Superman or Batman or Wonder Woman or Spider-Man or the X-Men and so on. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong whatsoever. But due to the fact that it wasn't educational, because that's mainly what it is, they wanted it gone. Or it wasn't appropriate, they wanted it gone and all that. And that's about it. That's what they wanted. They wanted it, gone, if you will. They wanted it out of the system. And look, again, understandable why, they would want these kind of things out. Because it's not appropriate, it's not age appropriate, it's not family oriented. But what's crazy is you go into these libraries and you have all these different kinds of stories there, not just books, movies, and all that, but that are not age appropriate. They're not. And I'm not talking the kind that are very triple X material. No. I'm talking about the fact that, some of these are so, so R-rated, and I do apologize for the notification, guys, as I mentioned earlier, you can probably hear these, but some of these are so R-rated, if not I wouldn't say NC-17 rating, I should say, but some of these are so R-rated, because of the horror genre, because of part of the horror genre or the thriller genre or whatever, the violence, and all that, the maturity that goes over a kid's head, you would ask yourself, well, if they want to ban anime and manga just because a character that's supposedly 200 years old looks like a child and they're in an obscene situation, even accidentally or incidentally, then why don't they ban all these horror stuff? This R-rated stuff that's, being, in front of the child's eyes and everything, or even in front of the family's eyes. Why don't they ban that? And those are good questions to ask. Those are good questions to ask and everything. But the thing is, that's just the way that's just the way our country is right now. They're so obsessed with banning one thing that they don't see that, well, if you're going to do that, then you should do it for other, media, other material that, is a lot more violenter and has more obscenity and all that and so on and so forth. You should do that, outside anything else. You get what I'm saying? If that's the case, then you might as well make sure you don't have movies. Like there's this one movie that Double Toasted talking about that, basically made them sick, if you will, called Bring Her Back. And basically it's like, well, if you're going to ban anime and manga, then why not ban movies like that from happening? From being in the theaters. It don't make sense. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's what they're hoping for, if not, believing strongly the Supreme Courts are going to look at it. It's like, well, if you want this banned, then why don't we just ban this and that? It don't make sense. So, yeah, basically, basically a lot of folks look at this and they're like, you guys, first of all, they're like, to the fellow anime and manga fans, you're blowing this out of proportions. It's not what you think it is. It's basically saying that, anything that has a minor, in an obscene situation, that can't be allowed, or depicted as a minor can't be allowed. Yet, again, you have stories and everything that will call for a character to look that way, but they're like centuries old. So basically a lot of fellow anime and manga, fans are telling their fellow fans, you have nothing to worry about. You're blowing this out of proportion because even though this got past the state Senate and the state house, it's not, and going to Governor Abbott's, desk, the Supreme Court's not going to allow it passed because it violates a lot of the constitutional laws and all that. Which it does. Although I do see that if there is kind of like any, I guess you could say, I wouldn't say silver lining for this law, having some kind of impact, basically, if there's any silver lining of this law having any kind of impact, in the future, even if it doesn't, become a reality by September 1st, basically the reality would be this. Oh, not the reality. The silver lining would be this: that it won't be a reality. The ban will not happen. But the silver lining could be you need to describe why this character looks like this and everything, and what their age is, so that it basically doesn't, basically doesn't justify that ban, or justify that ban basically not going into existence, or unjustifies that ban not going into existence and all that. You need to describe how old the character is, who they are, and why they look this way. That would be the only silver lining, basically, to have a more descriptive, presentation and take, on who the character is, why they look like a minor, how old they are, and everything, and if they have powers that relate to that, So I think that would be the silver lining, to basically give a more descriptive, take on the character, so that there is no confusion. Like, oh, they're not really a minor. They just look that way. Oh, okay, no problem. And that's it. That is it. So. Again, I think if there's any silver lining for this bill to have this ban to have any impact, even though it won't exist after it goes to the Supreme Court, and a lot of people saying the Supreme Court's throw it out, the silver lining for the ban is maybe an agreement to basically give more of a descriptional take on who the character is, why they look this way, and how old they are, and and that's it. That is it. So. So to me, I think that would be, for this ban to have any impact, if you will, that would be the silver lining they would have to look and hope for, I should say, once it goes to the Supreme Court and gets tossed and all that. But yeah, it's understandable. Like I said, it is understandable why fans would be worried, and I'm not against them being worried. I understand that, because it's like they say, all it takes is one little trickle, if you will, and it could slowly but surely start a tidal wave. I mean, what was that theme? Excuse me. What was that theme? In Disneyland, in Disney's California Adventure. What was that theme for Disney's California Adventure? For World of Color previously. Before the Happiness one that they have now with the 70th anniversary of Disneyland. What was that theme? One. That was the theme, right? It just takes one. Well, guess what? That doesn't just apply to Walt Disney being the foundation to how everything began and just turned into what it is now. But that also applies to laws like this. And justifiably, this is why fans are worried. They are worried mainly because of the fact, if you will, they're mainly worried that even if this doesn't succeed and gets tossed out, but has that silver lining, like I mentioned, all it takes is just this one, attempt to start a tidal wave for other states, in the country to basically, I guess you could say, hanker down on banning, well, not necessarily banning anime, but making it a little bit more, I guess you could say, not difficult, but a little bit more tricky for certain anime and manga to cross over to the United States as well as into certain states itself because of certain characters being drawn the way they are. And that the only way they could come in, like I said, is if that silver lining comes into play, that the Texas State House and Texas State Senate and Governor Abbott would have to hope for. And that silver lining, like I mentioned earlier, is being more descriptive of why the character looks the way they do, what their age is, and all that, and so on and so forth, so that there is legit reasoning for this character looking like a minor when they really aren't, if you know what I mean. But yeah, basically, that's what they're worried about. Like, even the silver lining, that I said this bill could have, potentially, not saying it will, but it could have if it doesn't, fully, come into existence because of the Supreme Court. The silver lining could be essentially, long story short, could be essentially, basically, that silver lining could essentially basically be the whole description situation, describing the character and all that. And that could have a, one like trickle effect to where, if they don't succeed, somebody else is going to take on the mantle. Like, even though this got passed in Texas, and everything, basically, even if the Supreme Court, shuts it down, but you have that silver lining if they get it, then the impact, that one little attempt could be felt. In other states, like let's say Florida, and Governor DeSantis could try in his state Senate and state house could attempt to do something similar, maybe not as strict, but something similar, in the future. Same here in California. Governor Newsom, or whoever the future governor is after next year, their House and their Senate here in California could say, let's do something, let's try to finish the job that Texas couldn't do, but do it in a way that's not as strict, but it's decent. It's decent enough, it's more appealing, it's more understandable for people that are fans of this genre, but can also understand why we're doing it, if you know what I mean. So it could basically migrate. Well, not migrate, but it could be taken up. The mantle could be taken up, if you will. That's what I'm getting at. State of Arizona, same thing. State of Oklahoma, Kansas, state of Montana, Washington, Nevada, Maryland, District of Columbia, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, you name it, Virginia, West Virginia, you name it. Any one of those states, Nebraska, Colorado, any one of those states could try to take up could basically, take up the mantle, pick up where Texas left off, if you will, pick up, where Texas left off and try to, finish the job, but do it in a way to where it's, again, more reasonable. Hold on for a second, guys. Hold on. Sorry about that. That's to be expected. I'm helping out family a little bit right now because one of the coworkers has to upload a app to their phone or to the computer because they're doing something for a workshop today. It's basically the Beans app, if you will. It's supposed to help with retirements and all that. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But anyway, to get back to what I'm saying, essentially, what, a lot of fans, and this is why fans are taking this out of proportion, is because they feel that even though this ban will not, will not last, even before it's September 1st reality, if you will. What they're afraid of is the impact, and that other states, other state houses, other state senates, if you will try to pick up the slack. They will try to pick up where, if you will, they'll try to pick up where essentially, Texas left off. They'll try to pick it up and make it more understandable and reasonable. Like, look, like basically, what they're worried about is a state like California or Kansas or Nevada or Florida or Pennsylvania, whatever. What they're worried about is basically them picking up where Texas left off, trying to make it trying to make the bill a reality, and everything. But hopefully, what the states will do, and this is what some feel like, yeah, this could happen, but I don't think we have much to worry about, because they feel like if another state picks up what Texas fails and everything because of the Supreme Court, essentially that state, or not that state, essentially that state, will look at, the wording and be like, okay, well, this shouldn't have been put in there, that shouldn't have been put in there, because this is what's making fans worried. And they'll make it more clear or more understandable of, to the fact that they will tell the fans in their own words, hey, we get you're worried and everything, but this is why this has to happen. Here's why. Here's, what we're aiming at. Here's the target. We're not trying to get rid of anime or manga entirely. No, we just want this, to be taken care of. We want some kind of resolution, like maybe we want a descriptive, reasoning as to why the character looks the way they do, and that would basically, to me, that would be more satisfactory, if you will, for the for the fans, for the consumer, for the hardcore fan of anime and manga. That that's basically what it would be, in my opinion. But honestly, when I look at this, I've been an anime fan for so long and everything. I get what they're saying. I really do. I get what they're saying. But I do agree that I don't think this is going to, even though it did pass the state law, the state Senate and the state House of Texas, I don't think it's, even if it goes, and it probably will, go to Governor Abbott's desk and he signs it, I do agree. I don't think it's going to make it to its September 1st reality. I don't think it's going to make it till then. The Supreme Courts are going to override it. They're going to see it obscures a lot of, input, if you will. It obscures a lot of, laws, basically violates it. A lot of First Amendments and everything, first rights. It's going to see that, and they're going to toss it. But I do think maybe when they toss it, there might be a silver lining, and that silver lining could be, just give us a more descriptive reasoning as to who the character is, why they look this way, and all that, and so on and so forth. I think that would be a silver lining. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. What are your thoughts on this whole anime ban, if you will, by the state of Texas? Let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about it? Do you think do you think this is a necessary unnecessary ban that's potentially going to be put into law, but may not even make it to its September 1st birth date, if you know what I mean? Because of the Supreme Court. What's your take on it? Do you understand what they're trying to do? And do you think they should have been more clarified, or more clearer, I should say, more descriptive themselves as to what they're planning to do, what their agenda is, if you will, when it comes to this? Let me know down let me know down in the comment section, as well as in the live chat during the premiere if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, do me all the favor, like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, share the video. Also, click on the links in the description to find my content also outside of YouTube. I got to do a lot of catching up on some stuff, I can tell you that right now, when it comes to certain outlets. But let me know what your thoughts are overall, guys. And until next time, I will talk to you all later.